get a retest opportunity. Y'all close your screens because I'm going to have mine up here. You get a retest opportunity for every topic, which this test had 3. So you have the potential to take 3 retests, anything that you scored less than a 90 on. And then that's up to you on how much you want to do. I will tell you, this is a process, okay? So it's not just like I'm going to show up and like take my retest. You actually have to do some interventions because we want to do better on the retests. Last week, I think I graded, now this was just Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, but I think I graded almost 40 retests, and I think less than 10 people improved their grade. So we've got to fix kind of our intervention with that. So on this Canvas front page, everyone see? Y'all were just there because y'all filled out the reflection form. What's in the middle in red up here? Unit 3 retest information. So when you click on here, there are a lot of words on this page. But you need to know which one you plan to retest. Are you redoing slope? If you are redoing slope, then this is your little checklist. And you're going to get a little form that you have to get signed by me or another algebra teacher that you have done these things. A lot of these are quick. Like the first one is completing your Delta Math. You've already done that, okay? So you can check that box off. I have that in the grade book, so I can check that off today. The next thing is we did a YouTube video that's it's like 4 or 5 minutes talking about slope. Watch it. And then you have a couple questions to answer on a formative. So when y'all clicked on formative, did you see several things that were assigned on there? Yes? No? Okay. So I will link those there. But this is all stuff that you can do on your own time. If you are planning to reteach, here's what's really important. There is a reteach practice / test analysis thing that we're going to do, like test corrections. That's going to be done on campus during power lunch on Tuesday at 12:15, okay? So that's something that you need to go, and you are going to get checked off for those. It's in a different room. It's going to be algebra teachers. I may or may not be in there, but you can still go in there and work on that stuff for that topic, okay? And then the retest is actually going to be on October 5th, and you have like 2 options, but if those don't work, you can contact us, okay? So same thing with the reteach. If Tuesday doesn't work, I need y'all to try to make that work just for simplicity of all of our lives. But I understand if you're sick, have an appointment, Kate Center, whatever, you just got to communicate with us. So there's a checklist for each thing that you are retesting. So if you're retesting multiple, then you do have quite a few steps to do. But everything is going to be linked there. I'll make sure the formative link works. I don't know what that's going to right now. But it doesn't take that much time. And again, you guys should all have number 1 done. I made sure of that before we got to the test. That had to be done. And then watching a YouTube video, just a few minutes, answering just like, at the formatives are like 5 questions. They're based on that video, so they're really short. But the big thing is you've got to come in for a tutorial and kind of do some test corrections there, and then be ready for your retest, okay? So these are your tickets, okay? So I'm going to come around, and if you are planning to retest, you just tell me how many, because you're going to do 1 per topic. Another thing that in my email that did confuse some people, there is not a limit on how many retests that you take. Like, you could take 3 in this unit, and that's okay. We said in the email there's only 1 retest, and what we mean is you get one more shot on slope. If you do all this stuff and you take the slope retest, that is final. That is the last time your slope grade can change. There is only 1 retest on intercepts. Does that make sense? Like, because I had some people asking me last week, can I like retest a retest? I'm like, no, we cannot do that. But you are able to retest any topic that you're eligible for and you do all the work for. Okay, so before we move on, does anyone have any questions about retest policy? If you don't know where to go or when it is, where do you go click? Where do you go click? Unit 3 retest information right at the top of Canvas on the calendar. Super big right there, okay? And I'll put in the dates on this calendar too. I had to leave school early yesterday, so I'm just kind of a mess this morning. But I'll put those dates in too so you know where they are. But like, again, your checklist, everything you need is going to be in that retest information page. Okay? Got it? All right, here we go. We are starting our next unit, which is all about graphing. So So we're going to kind of do 2 days on graphing, equations and inequalities, and then we're going to learn how to convert our linear forms, and then we're going to put it all together. So this is a unit that's going to do a lot of building. There's only kind of a little bit of new information these first couple of lessons, and then after that it's just like putting it together, putting it together, putting it together. We're going to continue to be doing stuff that we did in Unit 3, finding slope. It's not going away. Finding intercepts, not going away. So all of that is going to take us through, and it's long. We got a lot of time, but this is so important. We looked at the breakdown of last year's STAR test, and almost 50% of it is like linear functions. And so that's why like we're going to be working on linear functions for weeks on weeks on weeks on weeks, it feels like, okay? So this is kind of our plan right now. It's all on Canvas. Again, there's one on here, but if anything changes, Canvas will be where it's at, okay? So hopefully today is a little bit of a review. Some of this we have done before in my class. Some of it you may have done before in middle school. But we're going to kind of, did you get a blank one? Okay, let me get that. I think I took that one. And enjoy our weekend. Okay, so our main focus for our first 2 days is going to be graphing equations and inequalities. Today our focus is on graphing. So we're graphing linear equations, and today all of our linear equations are going to be in slope-intercept form, which we have seen slope-intercept form. We have talked about slope-intercept form. We know where slope-intercept form is on our formula chart. Right here, right here, right here. Y equals mx plus b. Again, it's like one of the most important linear forms that you will learn in Algebra 1. All right? What do we know in slope-intercept form? What's in the name? The slope. So we know the slope, and we know the, which one? The y-intercept, okay? So that's important to know which one is which. And then again, slope-intercept form is always y equals. Y is by itself. That's what makes it different than the other ones, and we're going to introduce those other forms over the next couple of days, okay? But so when we're in y equals mx plus b, we can see those two things. We can identify. You had a test question that had this on that last test. They gave you y equals mx plus b. They said, what's the slope? What's the m? And that you just put that number. So m is our slope. It's next to x. Slope is just a number. I think there was a few people that question on the test, y'all like included an x by it, and you didn't have to. It's next to x in the equation, but it is just a number. It was like 3 over 4, I don't know, some fraction, okay? So m is our slope. B is our y-intercept. Which again, it's if you write it as an ordered pair, which I normally like you to, you would write it 0, comma, b, whatever number that is. If there's a plus sign in front of b, that guy's positive. If there's a minus sign in front of the b, then that means that y value is negative. And then x and y will stay x and y in the equation, but those are technically our ordered pairs. We can put ordered pairs in. Ordered pairs. But in the equation, they actually stay there, okay? So we've talked about that. We did a day on slope-intercept form. We kind of know. We should be a little familiar with that. Now we're going to talk about how do you graph from that, okay? And we always want to be in that form when we are graphing. So our steps for graphing are going to be step number 1 is to convert to slope-intercept form. We are not going to have to do that today. Slope-intercept form, okay? Today, everything is going to be set for you. We're baby stepping it. 2 days from now, I'm going to show you how to convert because it's not always going to be that nice, but we're going to live in nice land for now. So convert into slope-intercept form. And then once we're in there, again, there is so much we can do when it's in y equals. I'm going to show you how to use this calculator and how to check your work and go to the table and all those things. And we're going to know how to get points on our graph. And we're going to know how to draw nice, pretty lines. And then we're going to even review some evaluating stuff. So today's going to be a lot of blending, okay? So when we first do this, when we graph these from slope-intercept form, is we're going to plot our y-intercept very first. So we're going to identify what that is. We're going to put that point on the y-axis wherever it belongs, and that's why we call our y-intercept our starting point. It's how we start on our line. Plot it there. And then we're going to use our rate of change or our slope to find other points from there. Okay, remember your rate of change is your slope. It's your change in y over your change in x. So whatever that slope is, we're going to use that as here's how we change our y's. We're going to go up this many. We're going to go down this many. And then we're going to go change in x, left or right, this many. Okay, and then that will get us a new point from there. All right? And then we're going to try to get 2 or 3 good points, and then we connect it with a line. And then we are done. Okay? So let's try this first one together. Identify the key features of the following function below. F of x equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. Are we in slope-intercept form here? Yes. Slope-intercept form we typically write as y equals. This says f of x equals, but what is f of x the same thing as? It's the same thing as y. So that's not going to trip us up. And to be honest, I think you're going to see more f of x on the STAR test than y. But for simplicity, they pretty much say y equals mx plus b, but technically it can be f of x, or like this one is g of x. But we have our output, our dependent value all by itself. And then here is our mx plus b. So what is our m based on this slope-intercept form? Negative 3/4. And this is where I really like fractions when it comes to determining my slope, because I want to see, like, what is my change in y? What is my change in x? So if it's not written as a fraction, I would write it as that. And I'll show you how to do that on the next one. And then what is our b? Our y-intercept? 2. Okay? Ordered pair? Because we need to practice that. Some people got that wrong on the test. What's the ordered pair? 0, 2. Okay? That is our starting point. Is everyone okay with just identifying that from there? It's so great. You just grab the numbers. Grab the numbers, write them down. You just got to know which one goes with which. Okay, so we start at the point 0, 2. That's on the y-axis. Here it is. Give that a point. I go over 0 on the x. I go up positive 2. Plot your point right there.
So I say this all the time, and I know it's not proper English. English teachers would be upset, so don't go speak to them. But I always say the B is where you be starting. Okay, so where do we be starting? We be starting at 2, because 2 is our
B value.
Which is our B value, right? So that's why I say it's where you be starting. So that's how you always start it, is go with your B.
Wherever it is, put it there. Okay, so now we're going to use our slope. Remember, that's our change in y on our change in x. Okay, so my change in y is what? According to this slope. I'm circling it. Negative 3. So from there, because it's negative, that means I'm going to go down. 1, 2, 3. Do not put a point. We're hovering 3 units down. Okay? And then, before I actually get my point, now I have to do that change in x, what's the change in x? 4. So I'm down 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. I went to the right. So if you have a negative slope, you got to decide, do you want the negative on the y or the x? I normally put on the x. The y. So like I went down 3, that took care of my negative, and then I went over positive 4. And remember, slope dude, we need a negative slope. This line should be doing what when I connect it? Should be going down, okay? If you see those 2 points when I get my ruler out, is my line going to go down?
Yes.
Okay? If you wanted to put the negative on the 4, all right? That means your change in y would be up 3, but your change in x would be left 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Okay? So either way you go, you should be able to get a nice straight line. If you put your ruler down and you cannot match up your 3 points, you've done something wrong. Okay, so I got 3 points here. I always start with that y-intercept. I use my change in y, change in x, then I put a point, and then I always try to get like 3 points on there, and so I went back and I went this way as well. Okay, does anyone have any questions about that so far? Familiar? Not familiar? Done before? Done some of this before? Draw your line.
Use your ruler.
Through the points, all the way through the points. I always like my line to like pretty much go on the whole coordinate grid. And I'm going to give it arrows because lines have arrows unless it's some sort of a story, which we don't have a story with this. And then there's my nice pretty line. Okay? And again, I'm checking things like I have a negative slope. My line should be going down. Check, it is. My y-intercept is positive 2. It should be starting right there. Those are like little things that I can check. And I'm going to show you how to put this in the calculator in just a sec. But first, I want to review throwback. What is f of 3? Do you remember how to do that? They asked you f of 3. What are they giving you? What are they wanting you to do? Technically, we're not solving. We're evaluating. Not the y-intercept. Okay, so look at our original equation. Our original equation was f of x is negative 3/4 x plus 2. What's in the parentheses? What's in the equation? So if I want you to find f of 3, what did I replace a 3 with? An x. And then so what am I going to replace this x with? A 3. We did this a while ago, but we wanted to kind of review it and then talk about, like, what does that mean? What does that mean when we do that? It's great that we can do it, but what does it actually mean? So what's nice about these, or we can put these in our calculator, just how we wrote it out, that right-hand side, and we're going to get one number. We're going to get an output.
Go to your calculator. Go to your calculator.
Alpha y equals enter negative 3/4 parentheses 3 plus 2. Okay, I'm just putting that input, that x value of 3. What do I get? Negative 1/4? Ooh, nice. Negative 1/4. So what's f of 3? Negative 1/4. If it wanted a decimal, what's a decimal? Negative 0.25. Okay? The STAR test, sometimes they give you answer choices of fractions. Sometimes they give you decimals. Sometimes it's open-ended. You could put either. You'll probably be okay. So what does that mean? What is f of 3 equals negative 1/4? What does that tell you? Anybody remember? Anybody know?
So when x is 3, the y value is
0.
no, not 0.
1/4.
Negative 1/4.
Y'all, this is an ordered pair. This is an ordered pair on this graph. What is the ordered pair? 3 negative 1/4. I want y'all to make that connection, okay? If you go and look at your graph, when you go to x is 3, does it look like our y value could be at negative 0.25? Does that look accurate? Is our line negative when x is 3? Look at it. Look at your graph. 1, 2, 3. Is that possible for that value right there to be at negative 0.25? Why not? It's negative, isn't it? It's between 0 and negative 1, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're finding points. I want y'all to understand that. I want you to know if they give you this is giving you an ordered pair. And you found it algebraically. I'm going to make you do it algebraically a few times, and I'm going to show you another way you can do it. But you are finding points on that graph, okay? And that little point, I'm going to draw an arrow to it, is about, boom, right there, okay? Is negative 1 to a solution? All right. I don't want to get confused with the vocab here, okay? Because this is a little bit tricky. Solution we use as x-intercepts. But when I'm talking about this as an entire function, altogether, I'm asking, is this point on the line? This is the question that I'm asking right here. It'll make more sense when we do inequalities. But so is this point on the line? Negative 1, positive 2. Look at your graph. Negative 1, positive 2. Is that on the line? No. So is it what we call a solution? No. Okay? It is not. All right, one more thing, and then I'm going to let you get started on this next one on your own. I want to show you why slope-intercept form is the best. Okay? We know slope-intercept form is in y equals, and what do we know that our calculator has a button that says? Y equals. Everyone press that button. Everyone do this. Get your calculators. Press that button.
It's going to make life easier.
It's going to make life a lot easier. And I want you to put that slope-intercept form in. So y equals, alpha y equals enter, negative 3 over 4
We're just going to put negative
x
3 over 4.
plus 2. When you go to y equals, you always have to put your mx plus b.
That's 3. How do we get negative 3? Oh, negative, okay.
So put it in as a fraction. You have to put that mx plus b. This is the only screen that we should ever be typing an x in. Do you hear me? Y equals is the only screen that it is safe to type that variable x.
Just chill on that.
Okay?
Does anybody need? We all good?
This is going to be a lifesaver for you all year. All year. Okay? The first thing that I want you to do is press the graph button. This is one thing that you can do. The graph button is right here. Okay? Graph. If your graph does not look like mine, I need to make sure we might have crazy calculator windows. Press graph.
Mine said error.
Did you put a negative in front of the 3/4 or a minus?
I put
This is useful. I think it's great to be able to just look at a graph, especially if you got something multiple choice and you had like 4 graphs and some of them were increasing, some of them were decreasing. You can kind of get an idea like, all right, is this sort of right? So does our picture sort of look like what we did? What we have on our paper, yeah? Yes? Okay. Here's what we're not going to do ever, ever, ever. We're not going to put our functions in our calculator and we're not just going to sketch like, oh, it looks like this. No. We plot exact pretty points. So the graph is just a good like, hey, do we look sort of in the right direction? Yes or no? What is going to be our lifesaver is the table. And I know I've showed y'all the table before. So help me out. How do we get there? How do we get to the table?
like second.
Second?
Second graph.
Second graph. So graph lets you see a pretty graph. Second graph lets you see a table. Look at what it says right above the graph button in blue. Table. Okay? And so now I have all these different x's. You should probably start at 0, but you can scroll around and you can find negative x's, and then you can find positive x's. Don't get crazy. Don't scroll to find the highest number. It keeps going. Just stay between negative 10 and 10. But if you look, it's giving you inputs, different inputs on the x, and then it's giving you outputs on the y. Do you guys see a lot of fractions in that y column? Yeah, okay. So let's look at the points that we have on our graph, the ones that are not fractions. 0, 2. Do we have that point on our graph? Do we have the point 0, 2 on our paper? Yeah. Yes, that's where we started. Okay, let's find the next pretty number. 1 5/4, no. 2 1/2, no. 3 negative 1/4. Where do we find that? Right there. Right there. Okay, so our evaluation matches our table. All right, there's a shortcut. All right, 4 negative 1. Do we have the point 4 negative 1 on our graph? Yep. Let's go find that other one. I got one more. So let's go up in the negatives and let's see if that point was on there. Negative 4, positive 5, boom. I found my 3 pretty points that we graphed with our change in y, change in x. They were on the table. The one that we evaluated right here, f of 3, we also found on the table. We're right. Everything is right here. Negative 1, 2, we said no. It wasn't on the line. What is the y value when x is negative 1? It's not 2. It's 11 over 4. So you can use your calculator to do a lot of these things, but I want y'all to go to the paper first and use the calculator as a check. Okay? You're going to try this one. I just want to get you started with this slope because this slope is not a fraction. Okay? What is the slope on g of x right here? 5, okay? Now, to use your change in y over change in x, I actually prefer fractions. How do you write a whole number as a fraction if you wanted to? Put it over 1. So what is your change in y? How many are going to go up? 5. How many are going to go over? 1. Point. Okay? So that's how you work with that. Do the rest. Check our graph. Okay? I've got my slope. We talked about writing that slope as a fraction. If it's not, this is like the one case where, like, again, I would prefer a fraction than a whole number. Like, probably the only time in your whole life that you'll prefer fractions than whole numbers. But again, it's helpful because you got to get the change in y and the change in x. Even if that change of x is just 1, you got to know that from there. And then our starting point, again, our b value was 0, -3, because that's a minus sign right there. So don't miss that. If you start at the wrong place, it's all going to be wrong. All right? And so here's what our line looks like. We could not fit 3 points on this grid. That's okay. Really, it only takes 2. I prefer 3 if you can. But we could not fit a third one because of that slope. Does it make sense that this slope is positive?
Yeah.
Yes, positive, okay? Also, do y'all see how steep this is? This is really steep. I would not want to be climbing up that mountain, okay? And it's steeper because the slope is at 5, okay? The bigger that slope is, the more positive that slope is, the steeper that it's going to be, okay? And then what'd y'all get for g of 3? I heard a lot of people saying the right number, but what was g of 3 equal to? 12, okay? So 2 of y'all said, is it okay if it's a whole number? Absolutely, it's okay if it's a whole number. Remember, this is an ordered pair. What is the ordered pair? What is the ordered pair? From here, tell me the ordered pair. 3, 12. This is we've got to understand that. This is your x, this is your y, okay? And so 3, 12, yeah, it's absolutely okay to have a whole number point. It's okay to have a fraction. It all just depends on the math. And to be honest, we kind of just picked random numbers, and then we're like, let's see, all right? And so you can see that. I heard some of y'all say you looked in the table. I do want you to show algebraically how you get that from there, all right? What about 0, 3? Is it on the line?
No.
No. So our answer is no, okay? All right, the reverse. You're going to have graphing to do on your own. You're also going to have graphs, and you're going to write. We've already done this. We did this before review day. So over a week ago, we did this. I'll review a little bit with you on the first one, and I'm going to have you try the next one on your own. If we're writing in slope-intercept form, recap, fill this in. Fill this in. We're writing in slope-intercept form. So our checklist, we need 2 things. You don't need to fill out X and Y. We'll just scribble that out. It's really just the M and the B is really what we got to know. Okay? If we're going to write in slope-intercept form, what are the 2 things that we have to know?
What's the M? Slope.
Slope. And the B? The y-intercept. Which one of those is faster to find? The y-intercept is going to be faster to find from a graph.
Because how
Okay?
do we find slope?
Let's write that down. How do we find slope?
Yes.
Minus y1 divided by.
Over x2 minus x1. Good, Daniel. Nice.
So that's going to take
I found it.
a little
Take a
more
little bit
work.
more time. Yeah.
Little more work.
Slope?
Do what?
No.
If you're retesting slope, this will help you. How many good points do you need to do the slope? 2. But I always do my y-intercept first. I always grab that first, and then I use that in my slope. So what is the y-intercept of this first graph? Ordered pair. 0, 6. Very good. I'm going to write that to the side. And then what am I going to write under that? Because I got to slope it. My labels. X1, Y1. Okay? But then I need another good point. Perfect point. So follow your line. You got options here, people. Which perfect point do we want to use? 3, 0 is a good one.
So I have a question. How do you know if you ordered
Any other point you want to use?
7.
Don't just throw out the number 7. That's not a point. You could use this point. You could use this point.
That doesn't go?
It's 1, 4, buddy. 1, 4.
Oh, yeah.
1, 4, 2, 2, 3, 0. Pick your poison.
1, 4.
Okay?
Yes, it is on there.
4, -2. Absolutely. Okay, you've got lots of options here on which order pair you use. You pick. Slope it. Go. What kind of slope should we be getting?
A negative.
Why?
Because the line is going down.
Lines decreasing. Very, very good. Okay.
Which one are we doing?
We're doing the first one. I'm just hiding my work for a second.
I'm doing the second one, too.
What?
I'm doing the second one.
Okay, well, you're ahead. I'm doing the first one right now.
Okay.
What'd y'all get for your slope?
4. Oh, wait, no. The slope -2.
Slope is -2. Okay? So how do you put that together and write your equation, your slope-intercept form? Yes.
Y equals -2x plus 6.
Perfect. Y equals -2x plus 6. Da-da-da. Okay. What is f of 1? What do you do with the 1?
Take out the x.
Replace it with the x. F of 1 equals -2 times 1 plus 6.
4.
What do you mean what?
I'm so lost.
What are you lost? Okay.
I got you.
I know what that is.
Let me look.
All right, what is f of 1 equal to?
4.
4. Okay, what ordered pair is that giving you? F of 1 equals 4. What ordered pair is that? 1, 4. Is that on your line? 1, 4?
Oh, you mean f.
It's on the line. Okay. Is -1, 2 on the line?
No.
-1, 2. Is that on the line? No. Okay. Try this one.
I tried it.
Good job. When you finish this graph, okay, I'm going to get this worked out so y'all can check. But some of y'all are finishing. Look up here. It's about to be kind of the last instructions for the day. Look at me. When you flip over, there are 4 more problems. There's 2 equations to graph. There's 2 equations to write. I want you to do 1 graph. I want you to do 1 write. And then you can go and do your delta math for today.
How do you
Okay?
put a table?
Hold on. Listen. With the table, you get to put your slope-intercept form in y equals, and you just go fill in a table. So go to your y equals second graph, and you just put a couple good points. You can put fractions, you can put whole numbers, I don't really care. So there's going to be a table of values that you can get from your y equals. So I don't know what I have in here for y equals right now. This is not the matching one. But what I would do is I would go say, okay, like -4, 5. -2, 7 over 2. I'm just like writing down a couple ordered pairs from my calculator. That's all I want you to do there.
Just write down like 4.
Write down however many answer blanks there are. Okay? And then one thing, real quick, before I'm about to cut you loose and let you practice your extra problems. Some of y'all don't know how to get out of this table screen or the graph screen. How do you get out of that screen?
Second mode.
Second mode. So if you're stuck in the table and you want to go back to regular calculator, second mode. If you're stuck in the graph and you want to get
Table.
second mode, second graph.
Second graph.
Second graph, okay? So that's all the table is. It's just you pick some points from your table and use your calculator. I'm okay with you guys starting to use your calculator more. So you pick 1 graph, you pick 1 right, and then
We usually do that
delta math.
on the top.
You finish your 1 graph, your 1 writing on those next 2 pages, you can go to delta math. Delta math is going to give you, I think there's 6. And then if you need help graphing in delta math, we need to know. But come check when you finish these problems, come check your key.